The scream didn't sound human. It ripped through Sunday afternoon like something dying. 6-year-old Emma flew off the porch, her stepfather's fist wrapped tight in her hair, her bare feet leaving the ground. Blood smeared across concrete. Across the street, 12 motorcycles sat silent outside the Iron Guardians clubhouse. Inside, Bullthorn set down his coffee. That sound. He'd heard it before. 20 years ago. From his own daughter. The daughter he couldn't save. His hands started shaking. Not from fear. From recognition. Subscribe to my channel and follow Emma's story to the end. Comment your city below. I want to see how far this story travels. The first thing Bull heard was silence. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that comes right before something breaks. The clubhouse had been loud all morning. Wrench arguing about carburetor specs. Tank laughing at his own jokes. Doc complaining about the coffee being too weak. Preacher reading scripture in the corner muttering about sinners and salvation. Then the scream cut through everything. Bull's coffee cup froze halfway to his mouth. Tank stopped mid-laugh. Wrench dropped his wrench. Even Preacher looked up from his Bible. "What the hell was that?" Tank said. Bull was already moving. His boots hit the wooden floor hard. His hand found the door before anyone else could react. He threw it open and stepped onto the porch. What he saw stopped his heart. Across the street, a man was dragging a child by her hair. A little girl, 6, maybe 7 years old. Her feet weren't touching the ground. Her small hands clawed at the fist tangled in her blonde hair. Her mouth was open, but no sound came out anymore, like she'd screamed herself empty. The man yanked harder. The girl's head snapped back. Bull's vision went red. "Tank," he said quietly. "Get everyone outside. Now." Tank didn't ask questions. He never did. He turned and bellowed into the clubhouse. "Church outside, move!" Boots thundered across wood. Leather creaked. Chains jingled. Within seconds, 12 men stood on that porch, and every single one of them was staring at the same thing. The man across the street didn't notice. He was too busy dragging the girl toward his front door, cursing under his breath. "Shut up," he snarled at her. "You want the whole neighborhood to hear. Shut your mouth." The girl whimpered. Her pink dress was torn. Her knees were bleeding. Her tiny fingers kept trying to pry his hand loose, but he was too strong. Bull stepped off the porch. "Boss," Wrench said behind him. "What are we doing?" Bull didn't answer. He just walked, steady, controlled. Every step deliberate. Tank fell in beside him. Then Doc. Then Wrench. Then Preacher. One by one, the Iron Guardians crossed that street like a wave of leather and steel. The man finally looked up. He froze. 12 bikers stood in his front yard. 12 faces carved from stone. 12 pairs of eyes locked on his fist. "Let her go," Bull said. His voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The man's grip tightened instead. He pulled the girl closer, positioning her between himself and the bikers like a shield. "This is my property," he said. "My kid, my business." "She's not a kid to you," Bull said. "She's a punching bag." The man's jaw tightened. "You don't know what you're talking about." "I know exactly what I'm talking about." Bull took another step forward. "I can see it in her eyes. I've seen that look before." The girl lifted her head. Tears streaked her dirty face. Her eyes found Bull's, and something in them flickered. Hope. Desperate, fragile hope. "Please," she whispered. "Please help me." Bull's chest clenched so hard he couldn't breathe for a moment. That voice. That tiny, broken voice. It sounded exactly like his daughter's voice had sounded 20 years ago. The daughter he'd failed. The daughter who died because he wasn't fast enough. Not this time. Not again. Never again. "Ray!" A woman's voice called from inside the house, thin, terrified. "Ray, just let her go, please. Just let her go." Ray Holden turned his head slightly. "Shut up, Sarah. Get back inside." Tank stepped forward. He was 6'4", 280 pounds, and right now he looked like a mountain that had decided to move. You heard the lady, Tank said. Let the girl go. Ray's face twisted. Fear and anger fought for control. Anger won. You think I'm scared of you, he spat. You think a bunch of bikers are going to tell me what to do in my own house. Wrench cracked his knuckles. We're not telling you anything. We're giving you a chance. A chance. Ray laughed. It came out high and thin. A chance at what? To walk away with both your hands attached to your body, Wrench said. Preacher stepped forward. His voice was calm, almost gentle. Son, I've read the good book cover to cover 17 times. I know what it says about harming children, and I know what happens to men who do it. Ray's eyes darted between them. His grip on the girl's hair loosened slightly. She gasped, drawing in air like she'd been drowning. This is none of your business, Ray said. She's my stepdaughter. I have every right. You have no rights. Bull cut him off. Not anymore. You lost them the second you put your hands on her. Ray's face went pale, then red, then something twisted and ugly. You want her, he hissed. Fine, take her, but I promise you this isn't over. I have friends, important friends, and they're going to... Your friends aren't here, Bull said. We are. He took one more step forward, close enough now to see the sweat on Ray's forehead, close enough to smell the fear coming off him in waves. Let her go. Ray's hand uncurled. The girl stumbled backward, her hair finally free. She lost her balance and started to fall, but Tank was there. He caught her before she hit the ground, scooping her up like she weighed nothing at all. She flinched at first. Her whole body went rigid. Easy, little one, Tank said softly. Easy. I've got you. No one's going to hurt you now. She stared at him for a long moment. This massive man with tattoos covering his arms and a beard that made him look like a grizzly bear. Then something in her broke. She buried her face in his leather vest and started sobbing. Tank's jaw tightened. His arms wrapped around her, holding her close. Ray took a step toward them. Every biker moved at once. A wall of bodies formed between Ray and the girl. Don't, Doc said quietly. Just don't. Ray's hands clenched into fists. She's my daughter. No, Bull said. She's a child, and you're done. Ray's eyes burned with something dark and dangerous. You have no idea who you're messing with. I work for people, important people, people who don't like strangers interfering in their business. Bull didn't blink. Tell them to come find us. The Iron Guardians, Miller Street. We'll be waiting. For a moment, Ray looked like he might try something. His body tensed. His weight shifted forward. Then he saw something in Bull's eyes that made him stop. He backed toward his front door, hands raised slightly. This isn't over, he said again. You'll regret this. All of you. The door slammed behind him. Silence. Tank looked down at the girl in his arms. She was still crying, but quieter now. Her small hands clutched his vest like she was afraid to let go. What do we do? Tank asked. Bull turned toward the clubhouse. We bring her inside. We check her injuries. And then we figure out what the hell is really going on in that house. The clubhouse smelled like coffee and motor oil. Warm light filtered through dusty windows. An old jukebox sat silent in the corner. Faded photographs covered the walls. Decades of brotherhood. Decades of history. Tank set the girl down on the worn leather couch by the back wall. She immediately curled into herself, making her body as small as possible. Doc knelt in front of her. He'd been a paramedic for 15 years before joining the club. He knew how to handle trauma, how to move slowly, how to keep his voice gentle. Hey there, he said. I'm Doc. What's your name, sweetheart? She didn't answer. Her eyes kept darting to the window. He's not coming in here, Doc said. I promise. No one's coming in here who's going to hurt you. The girl swallowed hard. Her voice came out barely above a whisper. Emma, Doc smiled. Emma, That's a beautiful name. Emma, I'm going to check if you're hurt. Okay, I'm just going to look. I won't touch anything without asking first. Is that all right? She hesitated, then nodded. Doc leaned in slowly. His trained eyes moved over her, scraped knees, bruised arms, torn dress, and then he saw something that made his blood run cold. Bull, he said quietly. Come here. Bull walked over. Doc gently lifted the sleeve of Emma's dress. Circular marks dotted her arm. Old ones, new ones, some scarred over, some still healing. Cigarette burns. Bull's hands started shaking again, not from fear this time, from rage. Emma, Doc said carefully, how long has your stepfather been hurting you? Emma's lower lip trembled. I don't remember. A long time, since before Mommy married him. Tank made a sound low in his throat, like something between a growl and a groan. Wrench turned away. His fists were clenched so tight his knuckles went white. Preacher bowed his head. His lips moved silently. A prayer, maybe, or a curse. Where's your mommy now? Doc asked. Inside, Emma whispered. She's always inside. She's scared too. He hurts her too. But she can't leave. He said if she ever tries to leave, he'll take me somewhere she can never find me. Bull crouched down beside Doc. He made sure to move slowly to keep his face calm. This girl had seen enough angry men to last a lifetime. Emma, he said, listen to me. You're safe now. Whatever he said, whatever he threatened, he can't hurt you here. Do you understand? Emma looked at him with those big wet eyes. 6 years old. 6 years of terror. But what about Mommy? She asked. Who's going to save her? Bull's jaw tightened. We are. An hour later, the clubhouse was full. Word had spread. Every member within driving distance had shown up. 23 Iron Guardians now crowded into the main room, their voices low and angry. Emma sat on the couch wrapped in a blanket Preacher had found in a closet. Tank sat beside her. He hadn't left her side since they walked in. She was eating a peanut butter sandwich. It was the first food she'd had all day, she told them. Ray didn't like feeding her on Sundays. He said it was a waste. Bull stood at the front of the room watching his brothers. Their faces told him everything he needed to know. They were ready. Whatever this was, they were ready. All right, Bull said. Here's what we know. The man across the street is Ray Holden. He married Emma's mother, Sarah, about 3 years ago. Since then, he's been abusing both of them. Emma has scars that go back at least 2 years. Old burns, old bruises. This has been going on for a long time. Why hasn't anyone done anything? A voice called out. Razor, one of the younger members. Hot-headed but loyal. Fear, Bull said. Sarah's terrified. Ray's threatened to take Emma and disappear. And he's got connections. He mentioned important friends. I want to know who they are. Wrench stepped forward. I might have an idea about that. Everyone turned. There's a truck in his driveway, Wrench said. Black pickup, late model. Got a sticker on the bumper. Snake curled around a skull. Murmurs rippled through the room. That's Nero's crew, someone said. Vincent Nero. He runs operations up north. Chop shops, burglaries, protection rackets. Bull's eyes narrowed. You're sure? Positive, Wrench said. I've seen that symbol twice this month. They're expanding, taking over territory. If Ray's connected to Nero, this is bigger than just one abusive stepfather. The room went quiet. Bull looked at Emma. She was still eating her sandwich, but her eyes were watching him, listening. This changes things, Bull said slowly. If we move against Ray, we might bring Nero down on us. So what? Tank's voice rumbled. You think I'm going to let that piece of garbage keep hurting this little girl because I'm scared of some criminals? I'm not saying that, Bull said. I'm saying we need to be smart. We need to know what we're getting into before we jump. Preacher stood up. Matthew 18:6. But whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a great millstone fastened around his neck and to be drowned in the depth of the sea. What's that mean? Razor asked. It means, Preacher said calmly, that God has strong opinions about men who harm children, and so do I. More murmurs, nodding heads, clenched fists. Bull raised a hand for silence. We're not making any decisions tonight. Right now, our priority is Emma. She stays here. She's safe. Tomorrow, I'll make some calls. Figure out what Nero's up to and how deep Ray is in it. What about the mother? Doc asked. Sarah, she's still over there with him. Bull's face darkened. I know, and we're going to get her out, but not tonight. Tonight she needs to believe we're not a threat, that we're not going to make things worse. If we storm over there now, Ray might do something desperate. Tank looked down at Emma. She had finished her sandwich and was leaning against his arm, her eyes half closed. She's falling asleep, Tank said softly. Bull walked over. He crouched down in front of her. Emma, he said gently, you're going to sleep here tonight. You're going to be safe. And I promise you, no matter what happens, we're going to help your mommy too, okay? Emma's eyes fluttered open. She looked at Bull with an expression that nearly broke him. Promise? She whispered. Promise. She closed her eyes. Within seconds, she was asleep. Tank lifted her carefully and carried her toward the back room. Doc followed with more blankets. Bull watched them go. His chest felt tight. Wrench walked up beside him. You okay, boss? Bull didn't answer right away. He was looking at the wall, at a faded photograph hanging between two others. A little girl with blonde hair and bright eyes sitting on a motorcycle grinning at the camera. His daughter, Grace, taken from him 20 years ago, killed by a drunk driver while he was away on a run. He'd never forgiven himself, never would. I'm fine, Bull said finally. Just remembering. Wrench glanced at the photo. He knew the story. Everyone did, but no one ever talked about it. This isn't the same, Wrench said quietly. You can save this one. Bull's jaw tightened. Yeah, I know. He turned away from the photograph. Call the boys in the southern chapter, he said. I want eyes on Nero's operation by tomorrow morning. If Ray is connected, I want to know how deep it goes. On it, Wrench said. Bull walked to the window. Across the street, the Holden house sat dark and quiet, but he could feel Ray in there, pacing, fuming, planning something. Men like Ray didn't just give up. They escalated. They got desperate. They made mistakes. Bull had seen it 100 times. The question was, what would Ray do next? 3 hours later, the answer came. Bull was sitting at the bar nursing a whiskey he hadn't actually touched when the front door burst open. Everyone jumped. Hands went to weapons. But it wasn't Ray. It was Sarah. Emma's mother stood in the doorway breathing hard. Her face was bruised, fresh bruises. Her lip was split. Blood ran down her chin. Please, she gasped. Please, you have to help me. He's gone crazy. He's going to kill us both. I know he is. Bull was on his feet in an instant. Where's Ray now? At the house, drinking, but he's making calls. To those men, the ones he works for. He's telling them what happened, telling them that bikers took his stepdaughter. He's saying you kidnapped her. Bull's blood went cold. He's lying. I know, Sarah sobbed. But they don't, and they're coming. He said they'd be here by morning. He said they'd burn this place to the ground. He said... She broke down crying so hard she couldn't stand. Doc rushed forward and caught her before she fell. Get her to the back, Bull ordered. Check her injuries, and keep her away from Emma. I don't want the girl seeing her mother like this. Doc nodded and helped Sarah toward the back room. Bull turned to face his brothers. Their faces had changed. The anger was still there, but now there was something else. Determination. Purpose. All right, Bull said. Change of plans. Nero's men are coming. That means we don't have until tomorrow. We have until dawn. What do we do? Razor asked. Bull looked around the room. 23 men. 23 brothers. 23 warriors who had fought together, bled together, buried friends together. We prepare, Bull said. We fortify. And if they want a war, we'll give them one. Tank emerged from the back room. His face was grave. Emma's still asleep, he said. Sarah's with Doc. She's hurt bad, Bull. Really bad. And she told me something else. What? Tank's voice dropped low. It's dropped. Ray's not just working for Nero. He's been feeding them information. Which houses are empty when owners are gone security codes. He's been helping them rob this whole county for over a year. Silence fell over the room. That's how he has protection, Wrench said slowly. He's valuable to them. They can't let him go down. Which means they'll do whatever it takes to shut us up, Bull said. To get Emma back. To silence Sarah. Preacher stood up. Then they'll have to go through us first. One by one, the Iron Guardians rose. 23 men standing as one. Bull looked at them. His brothers. His family. Lock it down, he said. Nobody gets in. Nobody gets out. And someone wake up the Southern chapter. Tell them we need reinforcements. How many? Wrench asked. Bull's eyes went hard. All of them. 2 hours before dawn, the clubhouse was a fortress. Every window had been checked. Every door reinforced. Armed men stood at every entrance. The parking lot had been blocked with trucks, creating a barricade that nothing short of a tank could penetrate. Emma slept through all of it. The sleep of a child who had finally, for the first time in years, felt safe. Sarah sat beside her, holding her daughter's hand, staring at the wall with empty eyes. Doc had cleaned her wounds. Her lip was stitched. Her bruises were turning purple. Bull walked in to check on them. How is she? He asked Doc quietly. Physically, she'll heal, Doc said. But emotionally, that's going to take a lot longer. Ray's been controlling her for years, breaking her down piece by piece. It's going to take time for her to remember who she is. Bull nodded. He walked over to Sarah. Mrs. Holden, he said gently. Sarah, can you hear me? She blinked. Her eyes focused slowly. You're the one who took Emma, she whispered. You saved her. We did what anyone should do, Bull said. We protected a child. Sarah's face crumpled. I should have done it. I should have protected her. I'm her mother. I should have... You were scared, Bull said. He made you scared. That's what men like him do. They break you down until you can't fight back. But you're here now. You made it here. That took courage. Sarah shook her head. It didn't feel like courage. It felt like running. Sometimes running is the bravest thing you can do. Emma stirred in her sleep. Her small hand tightened around her mother's. Sarah looked down at her daughter. Something shifted in her face. Something hardening. He's not getting her back, Sarah said. I don't care what it takes. I don't care what I have to do. He's not touching her ever again. Bull nodded. No, he's not. He stood up and walked to the door, stopped, turned back. Sarah, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Anything. The information Ray was giving Nero, the houses, the security codes. Do you know where he keeps those records? Sarah's brow furrowed. Yes, under the floorboards, in the living room, under the television stand. There's a box there. Papers, ledgers, photographs, everything. Bull's pulse quickened. If we could get that evidence, we could take down Nero's entire operation. It would protect you and Emma permanently. But how Ray's still there, and those men are coming? Bull was quiet for a moment. Leave that to us, he said. Tut. Dawn was an hour away when the first headlights appeared on the road. Tank saw them first. He was standing watch on the roof, binoculars pressed to his eyes. Boss, he called down. We've got company. 3 vehicles. Coming fast. Bull climbed the ladder to join him. He took the binoculars and looked. 3 black SUVs moving in formation. Professional. Coordinated. Nero's boys, Bull said. Right on schedule. How do you want to play this? Bull lowered the binoculars. Depends on how they want to play it. If they come in hot, we respond in kind. If they want to talk, we talk. And if they want Emma, Bull's eyes went cold. Then they don't leave. The SUVs pulled up outside the barricade. Doors opened. Men stepped out. 8 of them. Armed. Faces hard. One man walked to the front. Tall, lean, silver-haired. He wore an expensive suit that seemed out of place in the early morning darkness. "That's not one of Nero's grunts," Wrench said from below. "That's Nero himself." Bull climbed down from the roof. He straightened his leather vest, checked his weapon, and walked toward the barricade. "Stay sharp," he said over his shoulder. "But don't shoot unless I give the signal." He stopped at the barricade 20 feet from Vincent Nero. "Mr. Nero," Bull said, "you're a long way from home." Nero smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "I could say the same about you," he said. "Getting involved in things that don't concern you." "A child getting beaten in the street concerns everyone." "The child belongs to one of my associates. Her mother belongs to him too. You've taken both. I'm here to get them back." Bull shook his head slowly. "That's not going to happen." Nero's smile faded. "You don't understand the situation you're in. I have resources you can't imagine. Connections in places you don't even know exist. I can make your life very difficult." "You can try." Nero studied him for a long moment. Something flickered in his eyes. "Calculation. Assessment." "You're Bull Thorne," Nero said. "I've heard of you. Former military, combat medic, lost your daughter years ago. Violent accident." Bull didn't react, but his hand drifted closer to his weapon. "I did my research on the way over," Nero continued. "You've got a soft spot for children. Understandable given your history. But this is business, Mr. Thorne. And in business, emotions get people killed. Is that a threat?" "It's information. Take it however you want." Bull took a step forward, close enough now to see the lines on Nero's face, the coldness in his eyes. "Let me give you some information," Bull said quietly. "That little girl in there has been tortured for 2 years. Burned, beaten, starved. Her mother's been terrorized into silence, and the man who did it works for you, which means, in my book, you're responsible too." Nero's expression didn't change. "I don't control what my associates do in their personal lives. But you protect them when they do it." "That's the same thing." Silence stretched between them. Finally, Nero spoke. "I'm going to give you one chance, Mr. Thorne. Send the woman and child out right now, and we walk away. No consequences, no retaliation, just business as usual. And if I don't," Nero's smile returned, colder this time, "then I burn this place to the ground with everyone inside." Bull held his gaze, and then he laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not a scared laugh. The deep, genuine laugh of a man who has faced death too many times to be intimidated by it. "Mr. Nero," Bull said, "I've got 23 men in this building, all of them combat trained, all of them willing to die for what's right, and more are coming. So before you talk about burning anything, you might want to ask yourself one question." "What's that?" Bull leaned forward, voice dropping to a whisper. "Are 8 men enough to stop us?" Nero's eyes flickered, just for a moment. But Bull saw it. Fear. The first crack in the armor. "This isn't over," Nero said. "No," Bull agreed. "It's not, but it will be. And when it is, you're going to wish you'd never heard of Emma Holden." Nero stared at him for a long moment. Then he turned and walked back to his SUV. His men followed. The doors slammed, the engines roared, and the convoy pulled away into the growing light. Tank appeared at Bull's side. "They'll be back," Tank said. "I know." "With more men?" "I know." "What do we do?" Bull turned and looked back at the clubhouse. Through the window he could see Emma's small form curled up on the couch. 6 years old. Terrified. Beaten. Broken. But still fighting. Still hoping. Still asking for help. And he had promised her. "We get that evidence," Bull said. "Tonight, before Nero can regroup. We hit Ray's house, get the files, and bring down the whole operation. And if Ray's waiting for us..." Bull's jaw tightened. "Then God help him." The sun had barely risen when Bull called the meeting. Every member gathered in the main room, exhaustion carved into their faces. Nobody had slept. Nobody could. The weight of what was coming pressed down on all of them like a physical force. Bull stood at the center, arms crossed, jaw tight. "We don't have time to wait," he said. "Nero pulled back, but he's not done. He's regrouping, bringing more men, more firepower. If we're still sitting here when he comes back, we lose. Razor leaned forward. So what's the play? We hit Ray's house. Tonight. Get the evidence Sarah told us about. The ledgers, the photographs, everything. Once we have that, we can bring in the feds. Nero's operation goes down. Ray goes to prison. Emma and Sarah are protected permanently. Tank shifted his weight. And if Ray's expecting us? He probably is, which is why we're not going through the front door. Wrench raised an eyebrow. Back entrance. Basement window. Sarah says it's been broken for months. Ray never fixed it. Too cheap. Preacher spoke up from the corner. How many men? Small team. 4. Me, Tank, Wrench, and Doc. The rest stay here. Protect Emma and Sarah. If anything goes wrong, you get them out. Take the back roads to the mountain cabin. You know the one. Silence fell over the room. Ghost, who rarely spoke, stepped forward. I should go with you. Bull shook his head. I need you here. You're the best shot we have. If Nero's men show up while we're gone, Emma needs you protecting her. Ghost's jaw tightened, but he nodded. When do we move? Tank asked. Midnight. Ray drinks himself unconscious every night around 11. Sarah confirmed it. By midnight, he'll be passed out on the couch. We go in, get the evidence, get out, 15 minutes, no more. And if he wakes up, Bull's eyes went cold. Then we handle it. The room was quiet for a long moment. Finally, Razor broke the silence. What about the girl? Does she know what's happening? Bull's expression softened slightly. Not yet. I'll talk to her. He turned and walked toward the back room where Emma was staying. She was awake, sitting cross-legged on the bed, her small hands folded in her lap, watching the door like she'd been waiting for him. Hey, sweetheart, Bull said, crouching down to her level. How are you feeling? Emma's eyes searched his face. You're going to do something dangerous, I can tell. Bull blinked. 6 years old, and she could read people better than most adults. What makes you say that? Because you look the same way Mommy looks when she knows Daddy's going to hurt her. Scared, but trying to be brave. Bull's chest tightened. He reached out and gently took her hand. You're right, he admitted. I am scared, but not because I'm worried about myself. I'm scared because I made you a promise and I don't want to break it. What promise? That I'd protect you, that I'd make sure your stepfather never hurts you again. Emma's lower lip trembled. He always finds a way. He always does. Even when Mommy tries to hide me, he finds me. He says I belong to him. He says nobody can take me away. Bull leaned closer. Emma, listen to me. Men like Ray, they say things like that because it makes them feel powerful. But the truth is, they're weak, they're scared. And when someone finally stands up to them, they crumble. You think so? I know so. I've seen it 100 times. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, Did you ever have a little girl? Bull's breath caught. He hadn't expected that question. Not from her. Not now. Yes, he said quietly. I did. A long time ago. What happened to her? Bull swallowed hard. The memories crashed over him like a wave. Grace's laugh, Grace's smile, Grace's small hand in his. And then the phone call, the hospital, the tiny casket. She died, he said. There was an accident. I wasn't there to protect her. Emma's eyes filled with tears, not for herself this time, for him. I'm sorry, she whispered. Bull forced a smile. It was a long time ago, but you know what, meeting you, it reminded me why I started the Iron Guardians, why I built this family. We protect people, Emma, people who can't protect themselves. That's what we do. That's who we are. Emma reached up and touched his face. Her small fingers traced the scar on his cheek. You're not going to die, are you? She asked. You're going to come back. Bull's throat tightened. He took her hand and pressed it to his chest over his heart. You feel that? That heartbeat. As long as it's beating, I'm coming back to you. I promise. Emma threw her arms around his neck. Bull held her close, feeling her small body tremble against his. I don't want to lose you, she whispered. I just found you. Bull closed his eyes. 20 years of grief, 20 years of guilt. And now this little girl was reaching into that darkness and pulling out something he thought he'd lost forever. Hope. "You won't lose me," he said. "Not ever." When he finally pulled away, Sarah was standing in the doorway. Her eyes were red. She'd been listening. "Can I talk to you?" she asked quietly. "Alone." Bull nodded. He ruffled Emma's hair gently. "I'll be right back." "Okay, Tank's gonna come sit with you." Emma nodded, but her eyes followed him as he walked out. Sarah led Bull to the far end of the hallway, away from listening ears. "I want to come with you," she said. Bull shook his head immediately. "Absolutely not. I know that house better than anyone. I know where Ray hides things. I know which floorboards creak. I know his patterns. You need me. Sarah, you've been through hell. You're hurt. You're exhausted. And if Ray sees me, he'll hesitate. He always does. Just for a second. Because part of him still thinks he owns me. That second could save your life." Bull studied her face. The bruises. The split lip. The fear that still lingered in her eyes. But underneath all of that, something else. Steel. "You're sure about this?" "I've never been more sure of anything. I've spent 3 years being scared of that man. 3 years watching him hurt my daughter and doing nothing. Tonight I stop being scared. Tonight I fight back." Bull was quiet for a long moment. "All right," he finally said. "But you stay behind me. You do exactly what I say. And if things go sideways, you run. You get out and you don't look back. Understood?" Sarah nodded. "Understood." Bull turned and walked back toward the main room, but he stopped halfway. "Sarah." "Yes." "Why did you stay with him all this time? Why didn't you leave?" Sarah's face crumpled. For a moment, she looked like she might collapse. Then she straightened. "Because he convinced me I was nothing without him. That no one would believe me. That if I tried to leave, he'd kill Emma and make me watch." Her voice cracked. "And the worst part, I believed him. For 3 years, I believed every word. And now," Sarah's eyes hardened, "now I know he's just a pathetic, broken man who destroys things because he can't build anything. And tonight, I'm going to help you take everything from him." Bull nodded slowly. "Good. Hold on to that anger. You're going to need it." The hours crawled by. Tension mounted with every passing minute. Men checked weapons, tested equipment, ran through the plan again and again. At 11:30, Tank approached Bull. "It's time." Bull stood. He looked around the room at his brothers. 23 faces. 23 warriors. "Ghost, you're in charge while I'm gone. Anyone comes through that gate, you light them up." Ghost nodded once. Bull turned to the small team going with him. Tank, Wrench, Doc, Sarah. "Let's move." They slipped out the back door into the darkness. The night was cool quiet. Too quiet. Sarah walked beside Bull, her breathing shallow but controlled. "He usually passes out around 11, she whispered. "But sometimes he wakes up. Sometimes he has nightmares. If that happens..." "We'll handle it," Bull said. "Just focus on getting us to that evidence." They crossed the street in silence. Ray's house loomed before them. Dark windows, peeling paint, a broken-down truck in the driveway. Wrench found the basement window. Just like Sarah said, it was cracked. He worked it open slowly, carefully, without a sound. One by one, they slipped inside. The basement smelled like mold and gasoline. Old boxes were stacked everywhere. Rusted tools hung on the walls. Sarah led the way to the stairs. She paused at the bottom, listening, snoring. Heavy, rhythmic snoring coming from above. "He's out," she breathed. "Living room." They crept up the stairs, every step calculated, every breath controlled. The living room was dark except for the glow of a television playing static. Ray was sprawled on the couch, an empty bottle of whiskey on the floor beside him. Sarah pointed to the far corner, the television stand. Bull nodded. He motioned for Tank to keep watch on Ray while he and Wrench moved toward the stand. They lifted it slowly, silently. Beneath it, a loose floorboard, just like Sarah said. Wrench pried it up. Inside a metal box. Bull's heart pounded. This was it. Everything they needed to bring Nero down. He reached for the box, and then Ray's phone rang. The sound shattered the silence like a gunshot. Everyone froze. Ray stirred, groaned. His hand fumbled toward the phone on the coffee table. "Don't answer it," Sarah whispered. "Please don't answer it." But Ray's eyes opened, bleary, unfocused. He grabbed the phone. "What?" he slurred. Bull couldn't hear the voice on the other end, but he saw Ray's face change, the fog lifting, the confusion turning to awareness, then to rage. Ray sat up slowly. His eyes swept the room and landed directly on Sarah. For one terrible moment, nobody moved. Then Ray lunged. "You!" He came off the couch like a wild animal, hands reaching for Sarah's throat. Tank intercepted him. He caught Ray midair and slammed him into the wall. The whole house shook. "Stay down!" Tank roared. But Ray was beyond reason, beyond fear. He clawed at Tank's face, screaming obscenities. "You think you can take her from me? You think you can take what's mine?" Bull grabbed the metal box and shoved it at Wrench. "Go, get to the clubhouse now." Wrench hesitated. "Boss, go." Wrench ran. His footsteps thundered down the basement stairs. Ray heard them. He twisted in Tank's grip, desperate to follow. "The evidence. He's taking my evidence. Stop him." Tank slammed him into the wall again, harder this time. Ray's head bounced off the plaster. "I said stay down." But Ray wasn't done. He reached behind his back and pulled something from his waistband. A knife. "Tank!" Sarah screamed. Tank saw it too late. The blade sliced across his forearm. Blood sprayed. He stumbled backward, clutching the wound. Ray scrambled to his feet, knife in hand, eyes wild. "You're all dead," he hissed. "Every single one of you. Nero's going to burn your clubhouse to the ground, and I'm going to watch." Bull stepped between Ray and Sarah. "Put the knife down, Ray. Or what, you'll kill me. Go ahead, try it. But know this, if I die, that little girl suffers. Nero will make sure of it. He has people everywhere. Police, judges, social workers. Emma will disappear into the system, and no one will ever find her." Bull's blood ran cold. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" Ray laughed. It was an ugly sound. "You think I'm just some drunk who beats his wife? I'm connected. Protected. And that evidence your friend just stole, it's useless without the encryption key, which is right here." He tapped his forehead. "Kill me and Nero's operation stays hidden forever. Emma stays in danger forever. Is that what you want?" Bull's mind raced. Every instinct screamed at him to end this man, to put him down like the animal he was. But if Ray was telling the truth... "Bull," Sarah whispered. "He's lying. He has to be." "I'm not lying," Ray said. "And you know it, Sarah. You've seen the precautions I take, the passwords, the coded files. Without me, that box is just a bunch of meaningless papers." Tank groaned, pressing his hand against his bleeding arm. "Boss, we need to move. Someone might have heard." Bull made a decision. "We're taking him with us." Ray's smile faltered. "What?" "You heard me. You're coming back to the clubhouse, and you're going to decrypt those files. Every single one of them. And if I refuse..." Bull stepped closer. Close enough that Ray could see the darkness in his eyes. "Then I'll let Tank ask you. And trust me, you don't want that." Tank straightened, blood dripping from his arm, rage burning in his face. Ray's bravado cracked, just slightly, but enough. "Fine," he spat. "But this changes nothing. Nero will come for you, and when he does..." "Move!" Bull grabbed Ray's arm and shoved him toward the basement stairs. "Doc, patch up Tank. Sarah, stay close to me." They descended into the darkness. Ray in front, Bull right behind him, knife point pressed into his spine. "One wrong move," Bull whispered in his ear, "and I sever your spinal cord. You'll spend the rest of your life in a wheelchair. Understand?" Ray nodded. His whole body was trembling now. Good. Let him be afraid. Let him feel what Emma felt every single day. They emerged from the basement into the night air. The clubhouse was 50 yards away, lights blazing, men watching. Halfway across the street, Ray made his move. He spun faster than Bull expected and knocked the knife away. Then he ran, not toward the clubhouse, not toward his house, but toward the road, toward the darkness. "Stop him!" Bull roared. Tank lunged, but his injured arm slowed him. Ray dodged. Doc tried to intercept, but Ray shouldered past him. He was going to make it. He was going to disappear into the night and bring Nero's full force down on them. Then a shot rang out. Ray collapsed mid-stride, clutching his leg. Blood pooled beneath him. Everyone froze. On the clubhouse porch, Ghost lowered his rifle. "You said stop him," Ghost called out. "I stopped him." Bull let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. "Get him inside," he ordered. "And somebody find something to stop that bleeding. We need him alive." They dragged Ray across the street, his screams echoing through the empty neighborhood. Inside the clubhouse, they threw him onto a chair and tied his hands behind his back. Doc went to work on the gunshot wound while Ray cursed and spat. "You're dead," Ray kept saying. "All of you. Dead. Dead. Dead." Bull ignored him. He walked to where Wrench was standing with the metal box. "Open it." Wrench pried off the lid. Inside stacks of papers, ledgers, photographs, USB drives. Bull pulled out a photograph, stared at it. His stomach turned. It showed Nero shaking hands with a man in a police uniform. A captain's uniform. The county sheriff's department. "He wasn't lying," Bull said quietly. "Nero has people inside law enforcement." "Which means we can't go to the local cops," Wrench said. "No, we go higher. FBI, state police, someone outside Nero's reach." Ray laughed through his pain. "Good luck with that. Nero has friends everywhere. You think the feds aren't compromised too?" Bull turned to face him. "Maybe, maybe not. But here's what I know for sure: by this time tomorrow, every news station in the country is going to have copies of these documents. Every newspaper, every website. You can buy politicians, you can buy cops, but you can't buy everyone." Ray's face went pale. "You wouldn't." "Watch me." Bull turned to Wrench. "Start making copies. Send them to every journalist we know, every contact, everyone." "On it," Ray thrashed against his bonds. "You're making a mistake. Nero will destroy you. Let him try." Bull walked away. Behind him, Ray's screams faded into desperate sobs. In the back room, Emma was awake. Sarah sat beside her, holding her close. "Is it over?" Emma asked when Bull appeared. Bull knelt in front of her. His body ached. His hands were still shaking with adrenaline. But when he looked into her eyes, everything else faded. "Not yet," he said honestly. "But soon. I promise. Very soon." Emma reached out and touched the scar on his cheek again. "You came back," she whispered. "You promised you would, and you did." Bull's throat tightened. "I told you, as long as my heart is beating, I'm coming back to you." Emma smiled. For the first time since he'd met her, she actually smiled. And in that moment, Bull knew whatever came next, whatever Nero threw at them, it was worth it. This little girl was worth it. The smile on Emma's face lasted exactly 14 minutes. That's how long it took for the first call to come in. Wrench's phone buzzed on the table, loud in the sudden silence. He answered it, listened for 3 seconds, and his face went white. "Boss," he said, "we have a problem." Bull was already moving. "What kind of problem?" "The southern chapter. They were on their way here, 15 riders. Nero's men hit them on Route 9. Bull's stomach dropped. "How bad?" Wrench swallowed hard. "Bad. 3 down. The rest scattered. They're not coming." The room went silent. 3 brothers. Dead. Just like that. Tank slammed his fist into the wall. "Those bastards." "Who were they?" Preacher asked quietly. His voice was steady, but his hands were shaking. Wrench closed his eyes. Diesel, Monk, and Tiny. Someone in the back of the room made a sound like they'd been punched. Tiny had been with the club for 20 years. He had grandchildren. He was supposed to retire next spring. Bull forced himself to breathe. Grief later. Action now. "Where are the survivors?" "Holed up at a gas station about 30 miles out. They're hurt. Scared. waiting for orders. Tell them to stay put. Don't move until I say. Wrench nodded and started typing. Ghost stepped forward. Nero's sending a message. This is just the beginning. I know. Bull turned to face the room. Listen up. Everything just changed. Nero's not negotiating anymore. He's going to war. That means we need to move faster than planned. The journalists, Razor asked. Already sent. 6 different outlets have copies of everything. But it'll take time for them to verify to publish. We need to survive until then. Ray laughed from his chair in the corner. Blood had soaked through the bandage on his leg, but he didn't seem to care. His eyes were bright with something that looked almost like joy. You're all going to die, he said. Every single one of you. One of. Nero doesn't leave witnesses. Bull walked over to him. Slowly, deliberately. 3 of my brothers are dead because of you. 3, Ray grinned. That's just the appetizer. Wait until Nero brings the main course. Bull's hand shot out and grabbed Ray by the throat. He squeezed, hard. Give me one reason not to end you right now. Ray gasped, clawing at Bull's wrist. Because you need me. The encryption. Remember, Wrench cracked it an hour ago. We don't need you anymore. The color drained from Ray's face. You're bluffing. Am I? Bull leaned closer. Your password was Emma's birthday backwards. Real creative Ray. Ray's confidence shattered. Bull could see it happen in real time. The arrogance crumbling. The fear flooding in. Please, Ray whispered. Please, don't kill me. Bull stared at him for a long moment. Every fiber of his being wanted to squeeze until Ray stopped breathing. For Emma, for Sarah, for the 3 brothers who would never ride again. But then he heard it. A small voice from the doorway. Bull. He turned. Emma stood there, Sarah's hand on her shoulder. The little girl's eyes were fixed on Bull's hand around Ray's throat. What are you doing? She asked. Bull released Ray immediately. The man slumped forward, coughing and gasping. Nothing, sweetheart. Just talking. Emma's eyes moved to Ray, her stepfather, the man who had tortured her for years. She should have been terrified. She should have run. Instead, she walked forward. Sarah tried to hold her back. Emma, no. But Emma pulled free. She walked right up to Ray's chair and stood in front of him. 6 years old, barely 3 feet tall, looking up at the monster who had haunted her nightmares. You hurt me, she said quietly. Every day. You hurt me and Mommy. You made us scared all the time. Ray's eyes darted to Bull, to Sarah, back to Emma. I was just... You told me nobody would ever love me. You told me I was worthless. You told me I deserved everything you did. Emma, I didn't mean... You're a liar. Emma's voice was steady now, stronger than anyone had ever heard it. You're a mean, ugly liar, and I'm not scared of you anymore. She turned and walked back to her mother. Sarah wrapped her arms around her, tears streaming down her face. Bull watched Emma go. Something shifted in his chest. Pride. Fierce, overwhelming pride. That little girl had more courage than men twice her size. Ray sat in his chair, broken, not from the bullet wound, not from Bull's hand around his throat, from a 6-year-old girl who had finally found her voice. The moment was interrupted by Wrench's phone buzzing again. Boss, it's happening. What's happening? The story, it's breaking. Channel 7 just ran a segment. They're calling it the biggest corruption scandal in state history. Nero's picture is all over the news. Bull moved to the television mounted on the wall. He turned it on. There it was, Vincent Nero's face filling the screen. A news anchor talking about criminal enterprises, police corruption, and evidence provided by anonymous sources. We're not anonymous for long, Ghost muttered. Nero will figure out where this came from. Let him. Bull watched the screen. The more attention this gets, the harder it is for him to make us disappear. Unless he moves fast. As if on cue, Bull's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Mr. Thorne. Nero's voice was calm. Too calm. I see you've been busy. just getting started. You've made a very serious mistake. Do you understand that you've declared war on an organization that has existed for 40 years, that has survived FBI investigations? RICO charges state prosecutors. Do you really think a motorcycle club is going to bring us down? Bull looked around the room, at his brothers, at Sarah and Emma, at everything he was fighting for. No, he said. I think a little girl is going to bring you down, and I'm just helping her do it. Silence on the other end. Then Nero spoke again. His voice had changed, colder, harder. You have 1 hour. Bring me Ray Holden. Bring me the original evidence, and bring me the girl. Go to hell. If you don't, I will burn everything you love to the ground. Your clubhouse, your brothers, your families. Everyone you've ever cared about will suffer because of your stubbornness. Bull's grip tightened on the phone. You want to threaten me, Nero, fine. But know this, if you touch anyone in this building, I will spend the rest of my life hunting you. There won't be a hole deep enough for you to hide in. There won't be a country far enough away. I will find you, and I will end you. Brave words from a dead man. 1 hour isn't enough time for your men to get here. We both know that. Nero laughed. Who said they're not already there? Bull's blood went cold. He moved to the window and looked out. Headlights, dozens of them, lining the street, surrounding the clubhouse. You see them now, don't you? Nero's voice was almost gentle. 40 men, armed, ready. They've been in position for the last 20 minutes waiting for my signal. Bull counted the vehicles. SUVs, trucks, a small army. You think you can just attack us in the middle of a residential neighborhood? I think no one will see anything. I think no one will hear anything, and by the time the police arrive, there won't be anything left to find. Bull turned to face his brothers. Their faces were grim but determined. You're making a mistake, Nero. The only mistake I made was not dealing with you the first night. I won't make it again. The line went dead. Tank was at Bull's side instantly. How many 40, maybe more. We have 23. I know the math. Preacher stepped forward. We can't win a straight fight, not with those odds. We don't have to win, Bull said. We just have to survive until the story spreads. Until the feds get involved, until Nero has bigger problems than us. And how long is that? Bull looked at the television. The news coverage was expanding. More channels picking up the story. Social media exploding. Hours, maybe less. Can we hold that long? Bull didn't answer. He didn't know. Doc approached with a first aid kit. Tank, let me look at that arm again. I'm fine. You're bleeding through the bandage. Sit down. While Doc worked on Tank's arm, Bull gathered the rest of the men. Here's the situation. We're surrounded. Outgunned. Outmanned. If Nero's men breach this building, we lose. Emma loses. Everything we've done means nothing. So what do? Razor asked. We make them pay for every inch. We turn this clubhouse into a fortress, and we pray that help arrives before they break through. Ghost checked his rifle. I can take out drivers before they even reach the building. Slow them down. Do it, but don't expose yourself. We need you in this fight. Wrench was already on his phone. I'm calling everyone. Every ally we have. Every contact. Someone has to be able to help. Good. Keep trying. Sarah approached Bull. Emma clutched to her side. What about us? What do we do? Bull knelt down to Emma's level. Remember the room in the back, the one with the thick walls? Emma nodded. That's where you and your mommy are going to stay. Doc will be with you. No matter what you hear, no matter what happens, you stay in that room. Understand? But what about you? I'll be right outside, protecting you. Emma's lower lip trembled. I don't want you to get hurt. Bull smiled gently. I've been hurt before, sweetheart. I always get back up. That's what we do, we get back up. He stood and looked at Sarah. Keep her calm, keep her quiet, no matter what. Sarah nodded. Her eyes were terrified but steady. I will. And Bull. Yeah. Thank you for everything. Whatever happens tonight, thank you. Bull didn't know how to respond to that, so he just nodded and turned away. The first shot came 8 minutes later. It shattered a window on the east side, spraying glass across the floor. Everyone dropped. "Here we go," Tank shouted. Ghost was already at his position, rifle raised. He fired twice. Outside, someone screamed. "Two down," Ghost called, but more were coming. Bull could hear engines roaring, doors slamming, boots hitting pavement. "Defensive positions," Bull ordered. "Nobody shoots unless you have a clear target. Conserve ammunition." The men spread out, covering windows, covering doors, a wall of leather and steel protecting one little girl. The next few minutes were chaos. Gunfire erupted from every direction. Bullets punched through walls, through furniture, through anything that wasn't reinforced. The noise was deafening, the air filled with smoke and dust. Wrench took a hit to the shoulder. He dropped cursing but kept fighting. Razor caught a bullet in the leg. He went down, but dragged himself behind the bar, still firing. 3 of Nero's men breached through the back door. Tank met them with nothing but his fists and rage. He put all 3 down before the 4th one got him in the side. He stumbled, fell to one knee, and kept swinging. "Tank!" Bull screamed. He ran toward his friend, firing as he went. 2 more attackers dropped. Bull reached Tank and pulled him behind cover. "How bad?" Tank looked down at the wound in his side. Blood was spreading fast. "Been worse," he grunted. "Keep fighting." But his eyes were unfocused. His skin was going pale. "Doc!" Bull shouted. "Doc, get over here!" Doc sprinted from the back room, medical bag in hand. He slid to his knees beside Tank and started working. "Keep pressure on it," Doc ordered. "I need to stop this bleeding." Bull pressed his hands against Tank's side. Warm blood seeped through his fingers. "Stay with me, brother. Stay with me." Tank grabbed Bull's arm. His grip was weak. Too weak. "The girl," Tank whispered. "Promise me, whatever happens, you protect that girl. You're going to protect her yourself. You're going to—" "Promise me." Bull's eyes burned. "I promise, I swear on my life, nothing touches her." Tank smiled, just slightly. "Good. That's good." His eyes closed. Tank. "He's not dead," Doc said quickly. "He's unconscious. Lost too much blood. But he's not dead. Not yet." Bull stared at his friend's pale face. 20 years they'd ridden together. 20 years of brotherhood. And now, Bull. Ghost's voice cut through the chaos. "They're pulling back." Bull looked up. The gunfire was slowing. The engines outside were starting. He moved to the window and peered out. The SUVs were retreating. Not all of them, but enough. "Why?" Wrench asked, clutching his wounded shoulder. "Why are they leaving?" Then Bull saw it. Flashing lights in the distance, red and blue. Police. "Someone called the cops," Bull breathed. "Not someone." Preacher was standing by the television. "Everyone!" Bull looked at the screen. The news coverage had exploded. Helicopters were showing aerial footage of the clubhouse. Reporters were talking about a violent standoff between a motorcycle club and suspected members of the Nero crime organization. "We're live," Wrench said in disbelief. "The whole world is watching." And that's when Bull understood. Nero couldn't finish them off. Not with cameras everywhere. Not with police incoming. Not with the entire country watching. They had survived. But at what cost? Bull looked around the clubhouse. Blood everywhere. Broken glass. Shattered walls. Wounded men groaning on the floor. And in the back room, a 6-year-old girl waiting to find out if she would live or die. He walked to that room now. Pushed open the door. Emma was curled in Sarah's lap, hands over her ears, eyes squeezed shut. Sarah was rocking her gently, tears streaming down her face. "It's over," Bull said quietly. "They're gone." Sarah looked up. "Gone. For now. The police are coming. The news is here. Nero had to pull back." Emma opened her eyes. "Is everyone okay?" Bull hesitated. He thought about lying, about protecting her from the truth, but she'd been lied to enough. "Some of us are hurt," he said. "Tank is hurt bad. But we're alive. We're all alive." Emma's face crumpled. "I'm sorry. This is my fault. If you never helped me." "Stop." Bull knelt in front of her. This is not your fault. None of this. The only person responsible is Nero. And your stepfather. Not you. Never you. But people got hurt. People got hurt protecting something that matters. You matter, Emma. And every single person in this building would do it again, without hesitation. Emma threw herself into his arms. Bull held her tight, feeling her small body shake with sobs. I don't want anyone else to get hurt, she cried. Please, no more. Bull closed his eyes. He thought about Tank unconscious on the floor, about the 3 brothers who died on Route 9, about the battle they had barely survived, and he made a decision. Okay, he said quietly. No more. Sarah looked at him sharply. What do you mean? Bull stood still, holding Emma. I mean, we're done waiting. Done defending. Tomorrow, we take the fight to Nero. How? Bull looked at the television where Nero's face was still plastered across every channel. He's exposed now. His operation is crumbling. His men are scattered. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to finish this. Alone. If I have to. Sarah stepped forward. You can't. After everything. Sarah. Bull's voice was gentle but firm. Every hour this continues, more people get hurt. More people die. The only way to end this is to cut off the head. And if you don't come back, Bull looked down at Emma. She was staring up at him with those big, trusting eyes. Then you take her somewhere safe, you start a new life, and you never look back. Emma grabbed his hand. You promised you'd come back. Bull's throat tightened. I know, sweetheart. So you have to keep your promise. You have to. Bull knelt down again. He took Emma's small face in his hands. Listen to me. Whatever happens tomorrow, I need you to remember something. You are brave. You are strong. You are loved. And nothing, no one can ever take that away from you. Do you understand? Emma nodded slowly. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I love you, she whispered. Is that okay? Is it okay that I love you? Bull's heart shattered and rebuilt itself in the same moment. Yeah, he said, his voice cracking. That's okay. That's more than okay. He pulled her into one final embrace, held her like he'd held his own daughter 20 years ago, before the accident, before the grief, before he forgot what hope felt like. Then he stood, turned, and walked out of the room. There was work to do. And tomorrow, one way or another, this would end. Bull didn't sleep that night. He sat in the main room, surrounded by the wreckage of the battle, cleaning his weapon piece by piece. The repetitive motion kept his hands busy while his mind worked through every possible scenario. Tank was stable, but unconscious. Doc had done everything he could. The rest was up to God. Wrench's shoulder was wrapped tight. He refused to stay down. I'm coming with you, he said for the 4th time. No. Bull. I said no. Bull didn't look up from his weapon. Someone needs to stay here. Protect Emma and Sarah. If this goes wrong, you're the last line of defense. Wrench slammed his good hand on the table. And if you go alone, you die. Simple as that. Maybe. Maybe Bull Nero has an army. You're one man. I'm not going to fight his army. Bull finally looked up. I'm going to cut off the head. One man can get places an army can't. That's suicide. That's strategy. Ghost walked in his face, unreadable as always. He's right, Wrench. One man moving fast and quiet. It's the only way. You're both insane. Ghost shrugged. Probably. But it might work. Bull stood and holstered his weapon. I leave at dawn. 3 hours from now. Ghost, I need everything you have on Nero's compound. Security patrol routes, entry points. Ghost nodded. Already working on it. Our contacts came through. Nero's holed up at his estate outside the city. 30 acres. Fenced perimeter. Armed guards at every entrance. How many? 20? Maybe 25 after what we took out tonight. That's still 25 more than I have. Which is why you don't go through the front. Ghost pulled out a hand-drawn map. There's a service entrance on the north side. Delivery trucks use it. Minimal security. If you time it right, you can slip in during the morning supply run. Bull studied the map. And once I'm inside, main house is here. Nero's office is on the second floor east wing, but Bull... Ghost hesitated. He won't be alone. Even if you get past the perimeter, he'll have personal security. The best money can buy. I'll deal with them. How? Bull looked at him. However I have to. The next few hours passed in tense silence. Men prepared. Weapons were checked. Goodbyes were said without words. At 5 in the morning, Bull walked to the back room one last time. Emma was asleep, curled against her mother. Sarah was awake, watching the door. "You're leaving now," she said quietly. Not a question. "Yes." Sarah carefully extracted herself from Emma without waking her. She walked to Bull and stood in front of him. "You saved my daughter. You saved me. I don't know how to thank you for that." "You don't have to thank me." "I know, but I want you to know something." Aisha, she reached up and touched his face. "Whatever happens today, you've already won." Emma smiles now. She laughs. She's not afraid to speak. That's because of you. Bull's jaw tightened. "I should have found her sooner. Should have been there before." "Stop!" Sarah's voice was firm. "You can't save everyone. You can't undo the past, but you can protect the future. That's what you're doing. And that's enough." Bull looked past her at Emma's sleeping form. So small, so fragile, so brave. "If I don't come back, you will. But if I don't, there's a cabin in the mountains. Preacher knows where. Take Emma there. Stay until things settle. There's money hidden in the floor safe. Enough to start over." Sarah nodded slowly. "I understand." "And Sarah, tell her I kept my promise, even if it doesn't look like it. Tell her I kept fighting until the end." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "Tell her yourself, when you come back." Bull wanted to believe that. Wanted to believe he'd see Emma smile again, hear her laugh, watch her grow up safe and happy. But he'd been in enough fights to know the odds. "Take care of her," he said. Then he turned and walked away. Outside, Wrench was waiting with a motorcycle. Not Bull's usual ride. Something smaller, faster, quieter. "Modified the exhaust," Wrench said. "Runs almost silent. You'll get close before anyone hears you." "Thanks, brother." Wrench grabbed his arm. "Come back alive. That's an order." Bull almost smiled. "Since when do you give orders?" "Since right now. Don't make me come after you." They clasped hands, a grip that said everything words couldn't. Then Bull mounted the bike and rode into the darkness. The sun was just breaking over the horizon when he reached Nero's estate. Ghost's intel was good. The North Service entrance was exactly where he said it would be. Bull ditched the motorcycle half a mile out and approached on foot. The delivery truck arrived at exactly 7:15. Bull watched from the trees as it stopped at the gate. Guards checked the driver's ID, searched the cargo area, then waved it through. When the next truck arrived 8 minutes later, Bull was ready. He waited until the guards were distracted by the driver's paperwork, then slipped under the truck and grabbed the chassis. The vehicle lurched forward, carrying him through the gate. Inside the compound, he dropped from the truck and rolled into the shadows. So far, so good. The main house loomed ahead. 3 stories. Sprawling wings. Armed men patrolling the grounds in regular intervals. Bull timed their movements. Waited. Watched. Then he moved. The first guard never saw him coming. Bull came from behind, one hand over the mouth, the other applying pressure to the carotid. The man went limp in seconds. Bull dragged him into the bushes and kept moving. The second guard was harder. He turned at the wrong moment, caught a glimpse of movement. His hand went to his radio. Bull closed the distance before the man could speak. A quick strike to the throat. The radio clattered to the ground. "Who sent you?" The guard wheezed, clutching his neck. Bull didn't answer. He finished the job and moved on. The east wing entrance was locked. Electronic keypad. Bull pulled out a device. Wrench had given him, a scrambler that could crack most commercial security systems in under 30 seconds. It took 22. The door clicked open. Inside the house was quiet. Too quiet. Bull's instincts screamed that something was wrong. He moved through the hallways, weapon raised, checking every corner. The security seemed thin, lighter than Ghost had predicted. Either Nero had gotten sloppy or this was a trap. Bull pushed forward anyway. The stairs to the second floor were unguarded. That confirmed it. Nobody leaves stairs unguarded unless they want someone to come up. Bull climbed slowly, every sense on high alert. The east wing corridor stretched before him. At the end, a set of double doors. Nero's office. Bull approached. His hand reached for the door handle. "I wouldn't do that if I were you." The voice came from behind. Bull spun, weapon raised. A man stood 10 feet away. Tall, broad, military bearing. His gun was already aimed at Bull's chest. "You must be Thorn," the man said. "Mr. Nero's been expecting you." "Has he?" "Oh yes. From the moment you left your clubhouse this morning. We've been watching you the entire time." Bull's mind raced. If they knew he was coming, this was definitely a trap. But they hadn't killed him yet. That meant Nero wanted something. "So what now?" Bull asked. "Now you go inside. Mr. Nero would like to have a conversation." "And if I refuse?" The man smiled coldly. "Then I put 3 bullets in your chest and we have the conversation anyway. Your choice." Bull weighed his options. Fighting here meant dying here. Going inside meant facing Nero, but it also meant getting closer to the target. He lowered his weapon. "Smart choice." The man gestured toward the door. "After you." Bull pushed open the double doors and stepped into Vincent Nero's office. The crime lord sat behind an enormous desk looking exactly like he had on television. Silver hair, expensive suit, cold eyes. But up close, Bull could see something else. Exhaustion. Strain. The last 24 hours had taken their toll. "Mr. Thorn?" Nero gestured to a chair. "Please sit." "I'll stand." "Suit yourself." Nero leaned back in his chair. "I have to admit I'm impressed. Not many men would walk into the lion's den alone." "I'm not here to impress you." "No, you're here to kill me." Nero said it casually, like he was discussing the weather. "I respect that. Direct, honest. So few people are honest these days." "Is there a point to this conversation?" Nero smiled. "The point, Mr. Thorn, is that we find ourselves in an interesting position. You want me dead. I want that little girl and her mother. Perhaps we can reach an arrangement." Bull's blood went cold. "There's no arrangement that involves Emma. Hear me out. The girl and her mother are liabilities. They've seen things, heard things. Normally I would simply eliminate the problem. But you've made that difficult. The media attention, the police involvement, it's all very inconvenient. My heart bleeds for you." Nero ignored the sarcasm. "So here's what I propose. You walk away. Take your club, you're wounded, and disappear. In exchange, I'll leave the girl and her mother alone. They go into witness protection, start new lives, and everyone gets what they want. And Ray Holden, Ray has become a liability as well. I'll handle him myself. Consider it a gesture of good faith." Bull studied Nero's face. The man was a snake, but snakes didn't offer deals unless they were desperate. "You're scared," Bull said slowly. "The story's spreading. Your operation is crumbling. Half your men are dead or scattered. You're not making this offer because you're generous. You're making it because you're cornered." Something flickered in Nero's eyes, the first crack in his composure. "I'm offering you a way out, Mr. Thorn. Take it." "No. No. I didn't come here to make deals. I came here to end this." Nero's expression hardened. "Then you came here to die." He made a small gesture. The door behind Bull opened. 3 armed men entered, weapons trained on Bull's back. "You see, Mr. Thorn, I gave you a chance. I was even willing to let the girl live, but you've made that impossible." "Have I?" "The moment you walk out of this office, my men will assault your clubhouse. Everyone inside will die, including that precious little girl you've grown so attached to." Bull's heart stopped. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" Nero picked up his phone. "One call, Mr. Thorn." That's all it takes. My men are already in position. They've been waiting for my signal since dawn. Bull thought about Emma, about Sarah, about his brothers wounded and exhausted standing guard at the clubhouse. If Nero was telling the truth. What do you want? Bull asked quietly. I want you to beg. I want you to get on your knees and beg for their lives. And then maybe I'll consider letting them live. Bull looked at the 3 guns aimed at his back, at Nero's smug face, at the phone in his hand. He thought about all the times he'd been outmaneuvered, outgunned, outnumbered. And he thought about what Preacher always said before every battle. When you've got nothing left, that's when God shows up. Bull took a deep breath, and then he moved. It happened in seconds. Bull dropped to the floor as the guards fired. The bullets went over his head. He rolled, came up shooting, and took out 2 of them before they could adjust their aim. The 3rd guard tackled him. They crashed into Nero's desk, scattering papers everywhere. Bull lost his weapon. The guard's hands found his throat. Bull drove his thumb into the man's eye. The guard screamed and released him. Bull grabbed a letter opener from the desk and drove it into the man's neck. Nero was running for the door. Bull caught him before he reached it. He slammed Nero against the wall, pinning him there. The phone, Bull growled. Give it to me. Nero's hand was shaking, but he was smiling. Too late, he whispered. I already made the call, before you even entered the building. Your friends are already dead. Bull's world collapsed. No. No, it couldn't be true. Emma, Sarah, Tank, all of them. You're lying. Check for yourself. Nero nodded toward the phone on the desk. Call your clubhouse. See if anyone answers. Bull hesitated. If this was a trick. But he had to know. He dragged Nero to the desk and grabbed the phone. Dialed the clubhouse number. Waited. 1 ring. 2 rings. 3 rings. Nothing. 4 rings. 5 rings. Silence. Bull's hands started shaking. I told you, Nero said. It's over. You lost. Bull stared at the phone, at the silence that seemed to confirm his worst fears. And then on the 7th ring, someone answered. Bull. Wrench's voice breathless but alive. Bull, is that you? Relief crashed over him like a wave. Wrench, are you okay? Is everyone okay? We're fine. They came, but Ghost saw them coming. We were ready. Took out 8 of them before they retreated. Everyone's alive. Bull, everyone. Bull closed his eyes. Thank God. Thank God. Nero's face went pale. That's impossible. I sent 30 men. You sent 30 men against Ghost in a fortified position, Bull said quietly. Bad move. He dropped the phone and turned to face Nero fully. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to call off your remaining men, all of them. Then you're going to turn yourself into the FBI. You're going to confess everything. Every crime, every murder, every person you've ever hurt. Nero laughed. And why would I do that? Because if you don't, I'm going to kill you right now. And then I'm going to burn your empire to the ground. Every business, every safe house, every contact. By the time I'm done, there won't be anything left with your name on it. You're bluffing. Bull grabbed Nero by the collar and lifted him off his feet. Look into my eyes. Tell me I'm bluffing. Nero looked, and whatever he saw there drained the last of his bravado. Okay, he whispered. Okay, I'll do it. I'll turn myself in. Smart choice. Bull threw him to the ground and pulled out his phone. He dialed a number he'd memorized from the evidence files. FBI field office. This is Bull Thorne. I'm at Vincent Nero's estate. The man you've been hunting for 20 years is right here ready to confess. You might want to send some agents. He hung up and looked down at Nero, who was still lying on the floor, broken and defeated. Why? Nero asked. Why didn't you just kill me? Bull thought about the question. He thought about Emma, about the darkness that had consumed him for 20 years, about the rage that had driven him here. Because a little girl taught me something, he said finally. She taught me that destroying monsters doesn't make you a hero. Protecting the innocent does. You're going to spend the rest of your life in prison, Nero. You're going to wake up every day knowing that a 6-year-old girl brought down your empire. That's a fate worse than death." Nero's face twisted with hatred, but he didn't have any words left. Bull turned and walked out of the office. Halfway down the stairs, his phone buzzed. A text from Ghost. Ray escaped, took a car, heading toward the clubhouse. Bull's blood went cold. Ray was running, and there was only one place he would go. Only one person he would try to take. Emma. Bull ran. Through the hallways, past the fallen guards, out into the morning light. His motorcycle was too far away. He needed something faster. A car sat in the driveway, keys still in the ignition. Bull jumped in and floored it. The speedometer climbed. 80, 90, 100. The phone rang. Wrench's number. Bull answered. "Tell me he's not there yet." "He's not," Wrench said. "But Bull..." "Sarah took Emma outside, just for a minute, to get some air. We didn't think..." "Where are they now?" "The park, across the street. We're heading there, but..." Bull didn't hear the rest. He was already driving faster. 15 minutes. That's how far he was. 15 minutes that felt like a lifetime. His phone rang again, Sarah's number this time. "Bull." Her voice was trembling. "Bull, he's here. Ray's here. He has a knife. He's..." The line went dead. Bull screamed into the phone. "Sarah, Sarah." Nothing. He drove faster, weaving through traffic, running red lights, praying to a God he wasn't sure he believed in anymore. 12 minutes. 10 minutes. 8 minutes. His phone buzzed. A text this time, from a number he didn't recognize. The message was simple. "Come alone, or the girl dies." Bull's vision went red. 5 minutes. 3 minutes. He screeched to a stop across from the park, threw open the door, started running. And then he saw them. Ray stood in the center of the playground, Emma clutched to his chest, a knife pressed to her throat. Sarah was on the ground nearby, clutching her arm where blood seeped through her fingers. "Stop!" Ray screamed when he saw Bull. "Stop right there or I'll cut her." Bull froze. 30 feet away. Close enough to see Emma's terrified face. Close enough to see the madness in Ray's eyes. "Ray, let her go." "No, she's mine. She was always mine, and you took her from me." "Ray, this is over. Nero's finished. The FBI is raiding his estate right now. There's no one left to protect you. Let Emma go and we can talk about this." "Talk?" Ray laughed wildly. "Talk about what? How you destroyed my life, how you turned my own daughter against me. She was never your daughter, she was your victim." "Shut up!" The knife pressed harder. A thin line of blood appeared on Emma's throat. She whimpered. "Bull, I'm scared." "I know, sweetheart, I know. It's going to be okay." "No, it's not." Ray was crying now, actually crying. "Nothing's ever going to be okay. They ruined everything. The news, the police, you... I had it all planned out. I was going to be somebody, and you took it all away." Bull took a small step forward. "Ray, listen to me. Don't move." Ray's hand shook violently. "I'll do it. I swear to God, I'll do it." Bull stopped. His mind raced through options. There were none. At this range, any sudden move and Emma was dead. "What do you want, Ray? Tell me what you want." "I want my life back. I want things to go back to the way they were." "That's not possible. You know that. Then we all die together." Ray's eyes were wild, desperate, completely unhinged. "If I can't have her, nobody can." Emma closed her eyes. Her lips moved silently. Bull realized she was praying. 6 years old, facing death, and her response was to pray. Bull had never felt so helpless in his life. "Ray," he said, his voice cracking. "Please. She's just a child. Whatever happened between us, she's innocent. Let her go. Take me instead." "You..." Ray laughed bitterly. "You think I want you. You're nothing but her. She was supposed to love me. She was supposed to be grateful. I gave her everything, and she betrayed me." "She didn't betray you. She survived you. There's a difference." Ray's face contorted. The knife trembled. For one terrible moment, Bull thought it was over. Then Emma spoke. "I forgive you." Everyone froze. Emma opened her eyes and looked up at Ray. Her voice was steady, calm, impossibly calm for a child in her position. I forgive you for hurting me. I forgive you for hurting Mommy. I forgive you for everything. Ray's hand faltered. What? You're not a bad person. You're a hurt person. And hurt people hurt other people. But I forgive you, because that's what you're supposed to do. Ray stared at her. Something shifted in his face, the madness flickering, the rage wavering. You forgive me? Yes. After everything I did, yes. Ray's arm lowered slightly, just an inch. But an inch was enough. Bull moved. He crossed the 30 feet in seconds, tackling Ray from the side. The knife flew from Ray's hand as they crashed to the ground. Emma tumbled free, scrambling toward her mother. Bull pinned Ray down, one knee on his chest, both hands around his wrists. Ray didn't fight. All the rage, all the madness had drained out of him. He just lay there, staring at the sky, tears streaming down his face. She forgave me, he whispered. Why would she forgive me? Bull looked at him, at this broken, pathetic man who had caused so much pain. Because she's better than both of us, Bull said. Sirens wailed in the distance. The police were coming. Bull stood and walked to where Emma was hugging her mother. Both of them were crying. He knelt beside them. Are you okay? Both of you. Sarah nodded, pressing a cloth to the cut on her arm. It's not deep. I'm fine. Emma threw herself into Bull's arms. I knew you'd come, she said. I knew you'd keep your promise. Bull held her tight, tighter than he'd ever held anyone. Always, he said. I'll always come for you. Behind them, police cars screeched to a stop. Officers swarmed the park, securing Ray, calling for ambulances. But Bull didn't notice any of it. He just held Emma and let 20 years of grief finally begin to heal. The ambulance doors closed on Ray Holden, and Bull finally allowed himself to breathe. Police swarmed the park, taking statements, securing the scene. Sarah sat on a bench while a paramedic bandaged her arm. Emma refused to leave Bull's side, her small hand clutched in his like a lifeline. Detective Morrison approached, notepad in hand. Bull had dealt with him before. Good cop. Honest. One of the few in this county who wasn't on Nero's payroll. Hell of a morning, Thorne. You could say that. Morrison looked at Emma, then back at Bull. The FBI just confirmed Nero's in custody. He's singing like a bird. Names, dates, operations. Whole thing's coming down. Bull nodded slowly. The weight of those words settled over him like a warm blanket. It was really over. After everything, it was finally over. What about the men he sent to my clubhouse? Dead or arrested? Your boys put up quite a fight. Morrison almost smiled. Ghost is a hell of a shot. He's had practice. Morrison closed his notepad. Look, I know we've had our differences. I know you don't trust cops, and after what Nero's been doing, I can't blame you. But what you did here, taking down that organization, protecting this little girl, that took guts. Real guts. I didn't do it alone. No, you didn't. Morrison extended his hand. Thank you. From the department. From the whole damn county. Bull hesitated, then shook it. Just make sure Ray never sees daylight again. Between the abuse charges, the conspiracy charges, and attempted murder, he'll be lucky to see the sun through a prison window for the next 40 years. Emma tugged on Bull's hand. Is the bad man going away forever? Morrison knelt down to her level. Yes, sweetheart. The bad man is going away forever. He's never going to hurt you again. Emma's eyes filled with tears, but for the first time, they weren't tears of fear. They were tears of relief. Thank you, she whispered. Morrison's tough cop exterior cracked just a little. You're welcome, kid. He stood and walked away, already barking orders into his radio. Sarah approached, her arm freshly bandaged. She looked exhausted, traumatized, but there was something else in her eyes now. Hope. Real hope. What happens now? She asked. Bull looked at her. Now we go home. Home. The clubhouse. You and Emma are staying with us until we figure out something permanent. Bull, we can't impose. You're not imposing, you're family. Sarah's breath caught. Family. Such a simple word. But coming from this man in this moment, it meant everything. "Okay," she said softly. "Okay." The ride back to the clubhouse was quiet. Emma fell asleep in the back seat, her head resting against her mother's shoulder. Bull drove slowly, carefully, like he was carrying something precious. Because he was. When they pulled up to the clubhouse, Bull's heart clenched. The building was scarred from the battle. Broken windows, bullet holes, scorch marks where someone had tried to set it on fire, but it was still standing. And so were his brothers. Wrench was the first one out the door. His arm was in a sling, but his face broke into a wide grin when he saw Bull. "You crazy son of a—" He caught himself glancing at Emma. "Gun, you actually did it. Nero's finished. Ray's in custody. It's over." Wrench's grin faded into something more serious. "Tank's awake." Bull's heart jumped. "What?" "Woke up about an hour ago. First thing he said was, 'Where's the kid?' Doc says he's going to be okay. Needs rest, needs time, but he's going to make it." Bull closed his eyes. "Thank God. Thank God. I need to see him. He's in the back. Been asking for you." Bull turned to Sarah. "Will you be okay out here?" "Go," she said. "I'll take care of Emma." Bull walked into the clubhouse, past the debris, past the bloodstains, past the evidence of everything they'd survived. Tank was lying on a makeshift bed in the back room. Doc sat beside him monitoring his vitals. When Bull walked in, Tank's face lit up. "There he is, the man who took down Vincent Nero single-handedly." "I had help." "Sure you did." Tank tried to sit up and winced. "Easy, big guy," Doc warned. "I'm fine." Tank waved him off. "Bull, sit down. Tell me everything." Bull pulled up a chair and told him. The infiltration, the confrontation with Nero, the desperate race back when Ray escaped, the standoff in the park. When he got to the part about Emma forgiving Ray, Tank's eyes went wet. "That kid," he said hoarsely. "That kid's something else." "Yeah, she is. What happens to her now and Sarah?" "They're staying here, with us." Tank nodded slowly. "Good. That's good." He reached out and grabbed Bull's arm. "You did right, brother. Whatever doubts you had, whatever guilt you were carrying, you did right." Bull's throat tightened. "I almost lost her, Tank. In that park. If she hadn't said what she said to Ray, if he hadn't hesitated. But she did, and he did. And she's alive. That's all that matters." Bull looked at his friend, this man who had taken a bullet protecting Emma, who had nearly died for a little girl he'd just met. "Why'd you do it?" Bull asked. "When they breached the back door. You could have stayed behind cover. Could have let someone else handle it." Tank was quiet for a moment. "You remember my sister? The one who passed a few years back? Jenny." "Yeah, I remember. She had a kid, a daughter, lived with an abusive boyfriend for 3 years before she got out. I watched that little girl grow up scared of her own shadow, watched her flinch every time someone raised their voice. Took years for her to trust anyone again." Tank's voice cracked. "When I saw Emma, I saw my niece. I saw every kid who ever got hurt by someone who was supposed to protect them. And I thought, not this time. Not on my watch." Bull nodded. He understood. More than Tank knew. "How is she now?" "Your niece." Tank smiled. 17, honor roll. "Honor. Wants to be a social worker. Says she wants to help kids like her." His smile widened. "She's going to change the world, that girl." "Just like Emma. Just like Emma." They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of everything settling around them. "Get some rest," Bull finally said. "You've earned it. Only if you do the same. You look like hell." "Thanks." "I mean it, Bull. You've been running on empty for days. Take a breath. Enjoy the victory. We won." Bull stood and walked to the door. He paused, hand on the frame. "Tank. Yeah, thank you. For everything. For believing in this. For believing in her." Tank's eyes met his. Always, brother. Always. Bull walked back out to the main room. Emma was awake now, sitting on the couch with Sarah. Wrench was showing her card tricks, making coins disappear and reappear behind her ear. For the first time in days, Emma was laughing. Bull stood in the doorway and watched. The sound of her laughter filled something inside him that had been empty for 20 years. Preacher appeared beside him. Beautiful, isn't it? What? Hope. It's a beautiful thing. Bull didn't respond. He just watched Emma smile and felt something crack open in his chest. The next few weeks passed in a blur of activity. The FBI investigation expanded rapidly. Nero's organization crumbled. Dozens of arrests. Millions in assets seized. The story dominated national news. The Iron Guardians were hailed as heroes. Interviews requests poured in. Book deals. Movie offers. Bull turned them all down. "We didn't do this for fame," he told the reporters who camped outside the clubhouse. "We did it because it was right." Ray's trial was swift. Between the evidence, Sarah's testimony, and Emma's recorded statement, the jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. Guilty on all counts, sentenced to life without parole. Sarah broke down crying when the verdict was read, not from sadness, from relief, from the knowledge that her daughter would never have to fear that man again. Emma didn't cry. She just squeezed Bull's hand and whispered, "It's really over." "Yes, sweetheart, it's really over." But even as he said the words, Bull knew it wasn't true. The trauma Emma had experienced wouldn't just disappear. The nightmares, the fears, the scars, both visible and invisible. They would take years to heal. Maybe a lifetime. But she wouldn't have to heal alone. That was the difference. That was everything. 3 months after the trial, Bull made a decision. He found Sarah in the kitchen of the clubhouse washing dishes. She'd taken over cooking duties and the brothers loved her for it. First real home-cooked meals they'd had in years. "Can we talk?" Bull asked. Sarah dried her hands and turned to face him. "Of course. I've been thinking about Emma's future, about your future. You can't stay in the clubhouse forever. It's not a proper home for a little girl." Sarah's face fell. "I know. I've been looking at apartments, but with my credit history, with everything that happened. That's not what I meant." Bull took a deep breath. "There's a house, about 3 miles from here. Small but nice. Good neighborhood. Good schools. It's been empty for a while, but I've had it cleaned up, fixed up." Sarah stared at him. "Bull, what are you saying?" "I'm saying it's yours. Paid off. No mortgage. No rent. Just yours." "I can't accept that." "You can. You will." "Bull." "Sarah." He stepped closer. "You and Emma have been through hell. You deserve a fresh start. A real home. Let me give you that." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "Why? Why are you doing all this?" Bull was quiet for a moment. He thought about Grace, about the empty years after her death, about the guilt and grief that had consumed him for so long. "Because 20 years ago, I lost my daughter. I couldn't save her. I couldn't protect her. And I've spent every day since then trying to make up for that failure." His voice cracked. "Emma gave me something I thought I'd never have again. Purpose, hope, a reason to keep fighting. This house, it's not charity, it's gratitude." Sarah broke down. She threw her arms around him and sobbed into his chest. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Bull held her awkwardly. He wasn't used to this. The vulnerability, the emotion. But for once, he didn't pull away. When Sarah finally composed herself, she wiped her eyes and laughed softly. "I don't know what Emma's going to say." "Let's find out." They found Emma in the back room playing checkers with Tank. He was out of bed now, moving slowly but steadily. His wound was healing well. "Emma," Sarah said, "can you come here for a minute?" Emma bounded over. "What's up, Mommy?" Sarah knelt down to her level. "Mr. Bull has something to tell you." Emma turned to Bull, her big eyes curious and trusting. "Emma, Bull said, "How would you like your own room in your own house with a backyard where you can play?" Emma's face scrunched up in confusion. "But we live here, with you and Tank and everybody. You'll still see us all the time. The house is really close, but it'll be yours. Yours and your mommy's. A real home." Emma was quiet for a moment, processing. Then her face lit up. "Will you come visit?" "Every day if you want me to." "Promise." Bull smiled. "Promise." Emma threw herself into his arms. "Thank you, Bull. Thank you so much." Bull held her tight, breathing in the scent of her shampoo, feeling her small heart beat against his chest. "You're welcome, sweetheart." Tank watched from across the room, tears streaming down his face. He didn't even try to hide them. The move happened 2 weeks later. The whole club showed up to help. 23 bikers carrying boxes, assembling furniture, arguing about the best way to hang curtains. It should have been chaos. Instead, it felt like family. Emma ran from room to room, unable to believe it was real. Her own bedroom, her own closet, her own backyard with a swing set Wrench had built himself. "This is really mine," she kept asking. "Really, really?" "Really, really," Sarah assured her. By evening, the house was set up. Pizza boxes littered the kitchen table. The brothers lounged around the living room, exhausted but content. Bull stood on the back porch watching the sun set. Emma found him there. "Can I sit with you?" she asked. "Always." She climbed up beside him, her legs dangling off the edge of the porch. "Bull, yeah. Are you happy?" The question caught him off guard. When was the last time anyone had asked him that? When was the last time he'd even considered it? "I think I am," he said slowly. "Yeah, I think I'm happy." "Good." Emma leaned against his arm. "Because you deserve to be happy. You saved me. You saved Mommy. You're a hero." "I'm not a hero, Emma." "Yes, you are. Heroes save people. That's what you did." Bull looked down at her, this incredible little girl who had survived so much and still believed in heroes. "Can I tell you something?" he asked. "Okay." "The day I heard you scream, I was having a bad day. A really bad day. I was thinking about my daughter, the one who died. I was thinking about how I failed her, how I couldn't protect her, and then I heard your scream, and something inside me just woke up." Emma listened intently, her eyes never leaving his face. "You didn't just save me, Emma. I saved you too, but you saved me right back. You gave me something to fight for, something to live for. And I can never thank you enough for that." Emma's eyes welled up with tears. "So we saved each other." "Yeah, sweetheart. We saved each other." She threw her arms around his neck and held on tight. "I love you, Bull." Bull's throat closed. 3 words. 3 simple words that cracked his heart wide open and put it back together all at once. "I love you too, Emma." They sat there as the sun disappeared below the horizon. A broken man and a healing girl. 2 souls who had found each other in the darkness and walked together into the light. 6 months later, everything had changed. The Iron Guardians had become something more than just a motorcycle club. They'd started a foundation. Guardian Angels, they called it, dedicated to protecting children from abuse, providing safe houses, legal resources, counseling services. Emma was their official mascot. She attended every event, every fundraiser, every awareness campaign. People magazine did a feature on her, the girl who brought down an empire. Sarah went back to school, nursing program. She wanted to help people now, she said. Wanted to give back what she'd received. Tank made a full recovery. He was back on his bike within 3 months, much to Doc's frustration. "You're going to tear your stitches," Doc kept warning. "Already healed," Tank kept responding. Wrench finally got his garage rebuilt, bigger and better than before. He named it Emma's Automotive. She got a kick out of that. Ghost remained Ghost, quiet, watchful, deadly when needed. But Bull noticed he smiled more now. Not much, but more. Preacher led a memorial service for the 3 brothers they'd lost. Diesel, Monk, tiny. Their photos hung in the clubhouse alongside the others who had fallen over the years. They died protecting something that mattered, Preacher said. There's no greater honor than that. And Bulbul started talking to a therapist. First time in his life. He told her about grace, about the guilt, about the nightmares that still woke him some nights. You're not defined by what you couldn't save, she told him. You're defined by what you did save, and you saved a lot. It was slow going. Healing always was. But for the first time in 20 years, Bull felt like he was moving forward instead of standing still. 1 year to the day after that first scream, the Iron Guardians threw a party. Not at the clubhouse. At Emma's house, her real house with her real backyard and her real swing set. Everyone came. The whole club, their families, Sheriff Morrison, who had become an unlikely ally, even some of the FBI agents who had worked the Nero case. Emma ran around like a wild thing, playing with the other kids, laughing like she'd never known fear. Sarah watched her with tears in her eyes. She's a different person, she told Bull. I almost don't recognize her. She's the same person. She's just free now. Sarah nodded slowly. Free, yeah. I guess that's what it is. The party went late into the night. Stories were told. Songs were sung. At one point, Tank tried to teach Emma how to arm wrestle. She beat him and everyone swore he let her win. He denied it vehemently. Around midnight, when things were winding down, Emma found Bull sitting alone on the porch. Why are you out here by yourself? She asked. Just thinking. About what? Bull looked up at the stars. About how much things have changed. A year ago, I was in a bad place. Real bad. And now look at this. Look at you. Emma sat down beside him. She was taller now. Stronger. The haunted look in her eyes had faded, replaced by something bright and determined. Bull, can I ask you something? Anything. Do you think my daddy, my real daddy, is watching from heaven? Bull's chest tightened. Emma's biological father had died when she was 3. Car accident. That's how Sarah had ended up with Ray. Yeah, Bull said softly. I think he is, and I think he's really proud of you. Do you think your daughter is watching too? Bull's eyes stung. I hope so. I bet she's proud of you too. You're the best person I know. Bull couldn't speak for a moment. When he finally found his voice, it came out rough. Thank you, Emma. That means more than you know. Emma reached over and took his hand. They sat together watching the stars, listening to the sounds of laughter and music from inside. Bull, yeah. Will you always be my family, even when I grow up? Always, sweetheart. No matter what. Forever. Emma smiled. Good, because you're stuck with me now. Bull laughed. Actually laughed. The sound surprised him. I think I can live with that. Sarah appeared at the door. Emma, time for bed. 5 more minutes. Now, young lady. Emma sighed dramatically, but stood up. She hugged Bull tight. Good night, Bull. I love you. I love you too, Emma. Sweet dreams. She ran inside, already chattering to her mother about the party. Bull stayed on the porch. The night was warm. The stars were bright. And for the first time in longer than he could remember, he felt at peace. Wrench came out a few minutes later and handed him a beer. Hell of a year, boss. Hell of a year. They clinked bottles. You did good, you know, Wrench said. Not just with Emma. With all of it. The foundation. The club. Everything. We did good. All of us. Yeah, but it started with you. You heard that scream and you didn't look away. Most people would have. You didn't. Bull thought about that. About the moment when everything changed. When a little girl's scream cut through the afternoon and woke something in him that had been sleeping for 20 years. I almost didn't go out there, he admitted. For a second, I almost stayed in my chair. But you didn't. No, I didn't. Wrench nodded. That's the thing about heroes, Bull. They're not people who never feel fear. They're people who feel it and move anyway. Bull looked at him. Since when did you get so philosophical? Wrench grinned. Must be the beer. They laughed together. The sound carried into the night, mixing with the music and the voices and the joy. Tomorrow there would be new challenges, new fights, new children who needed protecting. The work was never done. But tonight, Bull allowed himself to rest, to celebrate, to remember. He had come so far from that broken man sitting in the clubhouse a year ago, so far from the guilt and the grief and the darkness that had consumed him. Emma had changed everything. That tiny, brave, incredible little girl had reached into his chest and pulled out the best parts of him. She had saved him, and he had saved her. And together they had built something beautiful from the ashes of their pain. Bull raised his bottle to the stars. "This one's for you, Grace," he whispered. "I hope I made you proud." Somewhere up there, he was certain his daughter was smiling. He finished his beer, stood up, and walked back inside. Back to his brothers. Back to his family. Back to the life he never thought he'd have. The door closed behind him, but the light from inside spilled out into the darkness. A beacon. A promise. A reminder that even in the darkest moments hope can survive, that even the most broken people can heal, that even a single scream can change everything. Emma was safe now. Sarah was free. And Bull Thorne, the man who had lost everything 20 years ago, had finally found his way home, because family isn't just about blood. It's about the people who show up when you scream. It's about the ones who fight for you when you can't fight for yourself. It's about love given freely without expectation. And that kind of family lasts forever.